So we're going to saute some onion, ginger and garlic. So I'm going to put about 1 teaspoon of oil, and to that I will add little bit of asafetida, which is hing, about 1/4 teaspoon. Into that I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of cumin seed. And I'm going to roast the cumin seed little bit. So once this cumin seed is roasted, then I will add the one onion and 5-6 cloves of garlic and 1-inch thick ginger grated. So I'm going to wait for this to get a little bit brown. Since most of your cooking will have this onion, ginger, garlic, because this is what brings about the taste, so it's a good idea to make a huge amount of onion, ginger, garlic paste and keep it in your fridge for a week. So whenever you need it, you can just take it out and use it. That saves a lot of time. So I usually do it for like 10 onion and about 2 big garlic, the entire whole garlic, 2 big of them, and then I use a huge chunk of ginger grated, and I cook all this stuff for about 30 minutes until they are like lightly brown, and cook it on very low heat. And while you're cooking it, make sure you put about 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric and 1 teaspoon of salt, so that will make it cook fast. So now that our cumin seed is roasted, I'm going to add this to it, and I'm going to make this one brown. So when you make it brown, you can lower the heat and you can add a little pinch of salt, which will make the onion little bit soft. But if you want to keep the onion crunchy, then do not add salt while cooking this. You can add salt after you add whatever it is that you want to add, then you can add the salt. So our onion, ginger, garlic is done, as you see. So this is how we saute our onion, ginger, garlic for adding to any curries. So today we're going to make chicken tikki masala, and after we make that one, then we're going to use the same chicken to use for butter chicken. So it's a 2-step process. Well, actually it's a 3-step process. At the very beginning I did the onion, ginger, garlic. So as you see, I already have onion, ginger, garlic cooked. So these are sauteed and cooked. And to that I'm going to mix this 5 chicken leg pieces. So I just took out the bone and cut up the leg pieces. These are clean from the skin and fat. So this is just the chicken pieces, 5 leg pieces. To this one I'm going to add some spices. Usually you're supposed to marinate it 5-6 hours, but if you don't have it, you can marinate 30 minutes, or if you don't have that time either, so you could just cook it directly after adding the spices. So I'm going to add to this one about 1 teaspoon olive oil, and to that I'm going to be adding about, this is about 4 cloves of fresh garlic crushed, 2 tablespoons of cilantro leaves, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of meat masala. I'm going to add all of these to our chicken. Now after you add everything to the chicken, you're supposed to mix it thoroughly and let it sit inside the fridge for 5-6 hours to marinate. But since right now I don't have the time, I'm just going to put it in my pan and mix it and cook it. So this is, I'm showing you the easiest way. So I'll be mixing it and cooking it covered in low heat for about 30 minutes until they are soft and cooked. Now you can add in this one Garam Masala powder too at the end. So I'm just going to cover and cook it, and if it gets stuck at the bottom, I will add very little, tiny little water, not too much, just so that it doesn't get stuck at the bottom. But I'll try to do this without the water because later we're gonna have to make the gravy separately for that one also. I already did the onion, ginger, garlic and tomato paste, and I'm going to blend that and make the gravy and add it to this one once the chicken is cooked. So I made the heat low and I'll cover it and cook the chicken for 30 minutes until the chicken is fully cooked. So as you see, our chicken has been cooking for 15 minutes now and it's really giving nice smell, but I see it's still a little bit hard, so I'm going to cook it 15 more minutes. Now if you kind of like little bit hard chicken, you can just make the masala and the butter chicken gravy and mix it at this point, but I like to cook it thoroughly, so I'm just going to cook maybe 10 more minutes covered. And as you see, there is no liquid, so I'm just going to cook it like this, and if I do need it, I'll add a little bit of water, tiny little bit. But once it's done, about 10-15 minutes later, you can eat it just like this with your bread and brown rice. And this is chicken tikki masala, but I'm going to make butter chicken, so on top of it I'm going to add gravy. Now usually butter chicken has a lot of butter, about a whole stick of butter. Since as you know with all my videos that I cannot eat too much fat, so I use very little oil. So I'm going to use just a little bit of butter, not too much. So I'm going to cook this one covered for 10 more minutes. Lower the heat, now cook it for 10 more minutes. So I'm just going to use this 1-inch thick butter. Usually in the restaurants, or if someone else's video you're watching, they might use the whole stick of butter, but I'm just going to use this 1-inch thick butter. So now that I have my butter melting, I use only 1-inch thick, even though this is butter chicken, but I'm not going to use a ton of butter. I'm just going to give it a little flavor. And to the melted butter, you use little bit of cumin seed. And the cumin seed is roasting, and I already grounded my spices, which was onion, ginger, garlic, tomato paste, and to that one some of the spices are already added. I added salt, turmeric, the chicken masala and garam masala. So now I believe my cumin seed is roasted. So now that cumin seed is roasted, I'm going to add my spices. So as you see, you could see the butter and you'll be smelling the butter when you eat it. So there is no reason to add a huge large piece of butter, then you'll be consuming a lot of butter. So now I'm going to bring this to a boil and then add the chicken. And at this time you can taste it to see if your spices are okay, and if it's not, then you can add a little bit more spices. So I'm going to make it a little bit more spicy. So I added a little bit of meat masala. I'm going to add a little bit of salt because as you see, my chicken tikka masala already has some masalas. So I'm just going to add very little and see. That way you don't have too much salt or too hot. Now once it's boiling, now remember your masalas has to be pre-cooked. My masalas are already pre-cooked, the onion, ginger, garlic, tomatoes. Now to this I will add these chicken pieces. And the chicken is already cooked. This is chicken tikka masala I'm using. Now you will cook this one about 10-15 minutes, and this is the time for you to check it if you want to make it more spicy or if your salt is okay. Now already added the cilantro. So I'm going to make the heat low and cook it for 10 minutes just so that all these ingredients gets mixed together nicely. So my butter chicken is ready and it has awesome butter flavor.